So today I'll be doing a video discussing all couples in 7 Deadly Sins and why you guys need to get up to date with all the couples in 7 Deadly Sins. Now, we know that love is a very key and important role in 7 Deadly Sins. Hell, basically, the story is a love story between Meliodas and Elizabeth and how they're trying to get together and free the curse that doesn't allow them to be together. But I want to do a video discussing all the couples because there's some of them that will have huge points in the plot, and there's some of them that are very spooky when it comes to this list. So without further ado, let's go ahead and get into the video. Now, number one is obviously Meliodas x Elizabeth. That one is the most solid and valid one in the whole series. We pretty much know that these two, they don't have to worry about anybody else going for anyone because they've been in love for over 3,000 years and they're still trying to figure out a way how they can break the curse and allow for both of them to live. So I'm interested to see how will Meliodas and Elizabeth actually figure out how to break the curse between these two. Now, the next couple that I want to discuss is Ban and Elaine. Now, this one is a very difficult one to discuss because we've seen for majority of the series Elaine has been gone, and we saw the type of trouble that basically Ban got himself into dealing with her. But we do know that they both do love each other. Obviously, they do want to be together and everything. And if Elaine is allowed to live when the series is all said and done, because obviously we know that she was killed off, gets brought back so many times, but if they do actually let Elaine live, I do believe that Ban and her will get together at the end of the series. But if Elaine does not live, I expect Ban and Jericho to be in full effect because, yo, don't sleep on this pair because we've seen Jericho and Ban, they've already gotten along. We see the moment when Jericho and Ban, they spent time together during when Ban was trying to figure out his whole identity and his past and stuff. So don't sleep on this couple, Ban and Jericho, because I do believe that this one can actually be used later on in the series. Now, the next one is kind of a no-brainer with Diane and King, and this one is kind of like a huge W for all the fans of the series because we've been waiting for this couple to happen forever. Obviously, these two liked each other, but they just weren't let's just say that they were the shyest ones of the group. But now they do seemingly have came forward and they have told each other about how they really feel. So it is good seeing King and Diane, one of the more obvious couples coming together, but it's finally happening. Now, one of the most controversial couples is Merlin x Arthur. Now, I know some of you guys are going to be upset about that, but just hear me out. We know that Merlin, she obviously likes Arthur a lot. She's been the one training, trying to unlock his magic power, and obviously Merlin, she likes anything that's strong, so she is attracted to figure out what Arthur's going to be like in his prime, which is understandable. So her and Arthur, I'm a huge believer in this just because we know they're both on the younger side of this on the spectrum when it comes to the sins. And now that we found out that they both basically do like each other, we saw that Merlin, she basically popped a blood vessel when she figured out that Arthur died. So I definitely can see Arthur, now that he's been confirmed to come back into the series, I can see these two definitely getting back at the end. But if Merlin and Arthur doesn't happen, we already know that our best boy Escanor, or at least the second best boy, he is going to be the #1 runner-up for Merlin. Obviously Escanor, he is in love with Merlin, he wants to do anything for her. We already seen that he's established that he does like her, but Merlin doesn't necessarily feel the same way back, and I think that's because of Arthur. So if Arthur doesn't come back, I can see her getting with Escanor, but I do think that Merlin and Arthur, that is the #1 choice. And speaking of the 7 Deadly Sins, I have to talk about Gowther x Gilda, and this one was kind of a weird one too because it wasn't really highlighted. It was only mainly in like the beginning of season 2, the end of season 1, but we've seen that Gowther, even though he showed himself as an emotionless person, he showed some type of interest in Gilda, and I do think that this one, it could end up holding up, but it does seem like it's on more of the weaker ends. And my plot twist for Gowther's relationship is I believe that his old lover will be revived because we know that the doll Gowther, the one that's in the 7 Deadly Sins, that one was modeled after Gowther's first lover, which explains why he does look like such a girl. But I do believe that since we've been seeing all of the lovers being revived, like we saw Gilda being revived, I do think that the same thing will happen for Gowther. He will end up bringing back his first lover. So if Gowther x Gilda doesn't happen, I think that his first lover will be brought back in the series. And speaking of first lover, I have to talk about this man's first crush, which is Estarossa x Elizabeth. Now, the reason why I'm bringing this up is because this was a huge plot point for an arc. Yes, like I said, love is is a very, very key thing in Seven Deadly Sins, because we see that Estarossa, he loved Elizabeth enough to betray everybody and try to become the Demon King for her. So I do think that the fact that Estarossa, or Mael, whichever one you want to call her, just because he's so deeply in love with Elizabeth, we could see this relationship, not necessarily this couple, like pop back up, but I think that we could see Mael, Estarossa, he would not stop at trying to get with Elizabeth. So I do think that he will try to keep this pairing alive. Although, like I said, I do think that Elizabeth will be targeting him. I think it'll be more of a one-side thing. And last but not least, I had to discuss Zeldris x Gelda. Who is Gelda? We know that she is one of the main members of the Vampire Clan, and this might be one of my favorite pairings in the series, just because it has so much plot, it has so much, like, this is everything about it is just so great. Like, we see Zeldris, he really had a 180 once you took away his female. That's what I really do like about his character, because he's kind of simple like Meliodas, but at the same time he's his own person. So I do think that Zeldris and Gelda, these two, once Gelda is fully revived and once Zeldris does have his body back, they can be on the same level as Meliodas x Elizabeth in terms of power and in terms of popularity. But overall, that's basically it for this little video discussing all the couples in I don't know why I just said Fairy Tail, in Seven Deadly Sins. Make sure you guys go ahead and turn on notification, leave a like, and if you guys want me to do a video discussing a more in-depth version of all the couples in Seven Deadly Sins, I will do so, because I did leave out a lot of the ones, like I know Gil Thunder, Veronica, like there's a lot of people who I did leave out, but I just wanted to talk about the main ones in the series and the ones I think will have the most impact on the story. Comment what you guys think down below, subscribe if you haven't. Peace out.